I thank the chair. So let me just ask a question, because we find in the bill the statement that abortion is essential to health care. There is a prior Supreme Court case from 1980, Harris versus McRae, that acknowledged that, quote, abortion is inherently different from other medical procedures because no other procedure involves the purposeful termination of a potential life, close quote. So what has changed since 1980 for Congress to now determine via legislative fiat that abortion is health care?
That abortion is.
The Supreme Court held in 1980 that abortion is different from other medical procedures because no other procedure involves the purposeful termination of a potential life. So this is a question that might have come up during our legislative hearing on this bill. Ranking Member McMorris Rodgers, refresh my memory, when was our committee hearing on this bill?
We didn't have a hearing on this bill.
Yeah, and that's a problem. Some people feel that abortion is health care. For myself, somebody spent a lifetime in health care. I don't feel that abortion is health care, and no other procedure would it involve the purposeful termination of a potential life, as was held by the Supreme Court back in 1980. I realize these are difficult determinations, difficult decisions. People are going to bring their own experiences, but we're fixing to do something here today that really will fundamentally change things. And we're doing it without, our committee is one that tends to be bipartisan. We're not always. We can be partisan, as we've shown in the past week or so, but still, we tend to be bipartisan. We tend to call hearings that are meaningful. We tend to call witnesses that are going to add something to the discussion from the knowledge base and not just the political base. But we didn't get the opportunity to do that in this case, did we?
No, we did not, unfortunately.
And then my understanding is we're entering into our discussion here, this hearing in the Rules Committee, without a score from the Congressional Budget Office. Normally, I would say, well, that may not be so important, but in this case, having just spent the last week arguing back and forth about whether or not the Hyde Amendment would apply to this $3.5 trillion reconciliation bill, and for political reasons, people say no, Hyde Amendment does not apply. So now, likely this procedure that you're codifying into law will be covered by Medicaid. So are the American people entitled to know how much of their federal money is going to be spent for this procedure, probably specifically at Planned Parenthood? I don't feel prepared to answer that question, but I think it's something would be worthwhile for us to at least investigate or have thought through. What is the effect of monetization of this procedure, and what would be the fiscal impact? Never mind all of the other difficulties with as Ranking Member McMorris Rodgers has brought up about the disposable society. What other problems are going to be created? But look, there are very few things that pass through Congress where everyone agrees, and I get it that Democrats being in the majority, they're pretty much able to pass whatever they want. But we should at least be honest with people about what we're doing and why we're doing it and who's going to benefit and who's not. The other thing, and Ranking Member Cole asked the question about the viability question. And again, that's one where if we'd had our hearing, if we'd had experts in the room, whether they were sworn under oath or not, we could have gotten some very useful information. But having the nebulous definition of viability being determined by the person who is performing the procedure, I can see some conflicts developing there. And I think it would be intuitively obvious to the casual observer that there would be conflicts there. So Yes, Ms. McMorris Rodgers, do you want to say something?
Well, I just wanted to comment on the hearing on, well, not the hearing, the markup that we just had on the 3.5 trillion, our provisions, energy and commerce provisions, and the debate over Hyde Amendment. I think it's important to highlight that what the majority is planning to do is basically add abortion as an essential health benefit within that legislation, and it will be mandated then for every Medicaid plan. There's no option for a plan to be made available that does not include abortion services. And that's where it is imposing one opinion on an entire population. And that was never the intent of the Affordable Care Act. And it really goes against what the will of the people is, I believe.
It's, and again, at the end of the day, the answer may be entirely unchanged because of the political majority enjoyed by the Democrats. But I think people are entitled to know what's going on and how it's going to be paid for and who's paying for it and just what the price tag is. This is a bill that really shouldn't be before us today. I would recommend we do the work that we should do in our committee. I know it's difficult and I know it's sometimes emotional, but it's work that we're required to do. That's why people elected us. That's why we were sent here in the first place. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll yield back.
The gentleman yields